Miss Martin. I am coming to you today to talk to you about lesson 8.5. It's the second lesson in your dividing fractions notebook or packet. So it's called Interpret Division with Fractions. What does that mean? Well, it just means that we're trying to understand word problems that have division with fractions in them. So there's some things that we already know, and then there's some things that we're going to learn. So let's talk about what we already know walking into this. Well, on the last video, and including the last bit of lesson in this packet, the first lesson in this packet, I apologize, we already know how to divide with fractions. And if you remember from our last video, we talked about a strategy called KCF, right? Keep, change, and flip, right? That's a strategy where we, whatever the first thing is, so it could be 2/3 divided by 1/4. We're going to keep the first one, right? 2/3. Change this one, change this one to multiplication, and then flip this one, F, to be 4/1. And then you multiply it out like that, right? 4 times 2 is 8 on the top, and 3 times 1 is 3 on the bottom. That is an improper fraction. We all know that we can divide that. 3 goes into 8 2 whole times to make 6, and there will still be 2/3 left over. That would be that. But that's that keep, change, flip strategy that we talked about in our last video. This is what we already know how to do. What are we going to learn to do today? Well, very simply, we're going to learn how to understand division word problems. And specifically, you want to understand the ones that have fractions. Okay? We want to understand the ones that have fractions because that's what our goal is in this lesson. And the thing that we want to do / remember is what we really want to focus on is how do we write a number sentence for these problems. Okay? So, how are we going to understand them? What are they telling us? And then, how are we going to write a number sentence for that, right? That's what we're going to focus on today. So, let me erase this. I'm going to put up some of the problems that you should be looking at in your packet. All right, so you should be looking at something like this in your packet, right? Lesson 8.1. If you look at the bottom, it's page 517, but it says interpret division with fractions. So let's focus right now on this unlock the problem. Okay, Elisa has 6 cups of raisins. She divides the raisins into 1/4 cup servings. How many servings does she have? All right, well, let's circle some information that we need. Let's see, Elisa has 6 cups of raisins. I'm going to need to know that she's got those 6 cups of raisins. Okay? And then it says, oh, she divides. There's a key word. Tells me what my operation is, right? It says divide, so I'm going to divide. She divides the raisins into 1/4 cup servings. There's another number piece of information that I'm going to need. And my question that they're asking is, how many servings does she have? All right. Now they're talking about using diagrams, equations, or story problems to represent division. We already know how to, we're going to practice how to write an equation. I'm going to diagram it for you just so that we see why it works the way that it works. But we also did that in the last lesson. So here they're talking about drawing a diagram. Well, 6 rectangles, right, to be cups of raisins. You can even make them look like cups if you want. My cups are not the best, but we'll work with what we got. There's my 6 cups of raisins. And then it says draw lines to divide each of them into fourths. All right. So the easiest way I know is to crisscross them. So that's what I'm going to do. Down to fourths, 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 fourths. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of those cups has been divided up into fourths. So the question asks, how many servings does she have? Well, that's each one of these little pieces that I cut, right? So I can do also, if I'm writing a number sentence that matches. This is 6 divided by 1/4. So I can rewrite that using keep, change, flip, right? I'm going to keep 6 as is, 6. I'm going to change to multiplication, my sign, and then I'm going to flip this fraction, 4 over 1. Now I also know that this is a whole number. I can just put that over 1 too. Same thing, keep, change, flip. Now, on the top I've got 6 and 4, so 6 times 4, I'm just going to erase that just so I can move it over. 6 times 4 is 24. And then 1 times 1 is obviously 1. And we know that 24 wholes, well, that's the same as 24. Which makes sense because this 24 means how many servings? So this is 24 servings. And that makes sense because we should have wholes of it, right? You can't serve somebody half of something, right? Unless you already started with half and you're trying to split it. But we're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is make enough servings for more people. So we should have a whole number. That makes sense. All right, let me erase, and we will look at the second one. All right, we're looking at example 1. Same page, we're right at the bottom. It says write an equation to solve. So we kind of did that on top, but we're also going to do it down here. 4 friends share 1/4 of a gallon of orange juice. What fraction of a gallon of orange juice does each friend get? Now, this one can sound tricky, but you really just have to pay attention to what's happening. Think about, let's read it again and let's circle our information. So it says here, 4 friends share 1/4 of a gallon of orange juice. Okay, I've got 2 numbers in there. I'm going to circle those numbers. I've got 4 friends and 1/4 of a gallon of orange juice. Okay, circle that. And it says they share it. That's got to be a key word. And we should know that when we share things equally, it's just like dividing. If I could turn it up, you could see my keyword charts, which you would see share equally on there too. So we know that we're dividing. But we also should know that when we're dividing, order does matter. Just like in subtraction, right? Order does matter. But it's not that the biggest number goes first. That's not how it works. You have to think about, what did we start with? That's what we're actually asking. Because our question says, what fraction of a gallon of orange juice does each friend get? Okay, so we should know that our answer is going to be a fraction. Okay, it's not going to be a whole number. It's going to be a fraction because they asked us what fraction. Okay, so that's our first clue. And now we need to look at this and say, okay, what do they have? Do we have 4 friends that are going to split into fourths? We're going to divide it into fourths? No, because that doesn't make sense. What we have in the first place is 1/4 of a gallon of juice. And we're going to split that between 4 friends. So the way that they wrote it, it sounds a little bit tricky, but we have to think about what's actually happening. And when you think about what's actually happening, we know that our equation should start with 1/4, and we should divide it by 4 friends. We're going to cut that 1/4 into 4 different pieces. So 1/4, they started with 1/4 fourths, divided by 4 friends. Okay? Now, there's our equation. N is, of course, as we know from algebra, it's the number that we just don't know yet. So we're trying to figure out what N is. Well, step 2, write a related multiplication equation, then solve. So this is that step where we're going to do keep, change, flip. All right? Keep the first one, so we've got 1/4, we kept it. Keep, change to multiplication, they did that. And then we're going to flip this one. But here's the thing, when it's a whole number, you have to know that it's 4/1. But it's not flipped yet. We still have to flip it. So when we get over here, it's going to be 1/4 times, not 4/1, but 1/4. That is the flipped version. You should always notice that whenever you have a whole number that you're flipping, it will be 1 over whatever that whole number is. That's a little trick. Okay, so now we have 1/4 times 1/4. Well, we know how to do that. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 4 is 16. So it means that what fraction of the gallon of orange juice is each friend going to get? They're going to get 1/16 of a gallon. Hopefully you said gallon too. 1/16 of a gallon. So that's what we're going to get. That's how we do it. 1/16 of a gallon of orange juice. And that's why the order definitely matters. So pay attention, especially when they're talking about sharing a piece of something or a fraction of something, because you're going to want to start with that fraction, because that's what they're starting with, and they're going to cut that into pieces. So pay attention to those. If you look on the next page, I'm just going to show it to you, and you're going to see that you're going to get your own chance to write a problem. And we're going to try and write both. So looking at the first problem, I'm going to read it to you, and I really want to make sure that you read through the directions. I know we have trouble doing that, but we need to read through the directions because they're going to give us hints on how to write it. So it says write a story problem and then draw a diagram to solve. 4 divided by 1/3. So choose what item you want to divide. Here's the hint. Your problem should be about how many groups of 1/3 are in 4 wholes. So you need to start with 4 whole things. Some examples are, you can start with 4 sandwiches, 4 feet of ribbon, 4 apples, right? You can start with 4 of something, 4 whole things of something. So when you write your story problem, you're going to use those 4 things, and you're going to describe how we divided those 4 things into thirds. It could be sandwiches that you divided into thirds so that more people can be fed. It can be 4 feet of ribbon that you divided into thirds to make ribbons that are that size, right? If you're doing apples, you can divide them into thirds to share with people at snack. So then your question that you're going to ask is, how many thirds are there? You can call them servings. You can call them people, right? People that you're going to serve. How many people can we serve? How many servings will there be? How many thirds of an apple? How many feet of ribbon? How many thirds of a sandwich will there be? That's you're asking how many. And just a hint, you're probably going to get a whole number, because if you're asking for pieces, that's usually a whole number, right? So there's that one. Make sure you've read through all the directions when you write it. And then let's look at the next one. Now in the second one, let's look at our fraction. It's 1/2 divided by 5. So first, you want to choose what item you want to divide. So the thing that you're going to think about, because order matters, what you're starting with is 1/2. So your problem should describe half of an item that can be divided into 5 equal parts. That's what we're trying to do. So just like that last problem in example 1, where they only had 1/4 of a gallon, and then that fourth was shared, we want a story problem like that. When you're starting with a fraction, you're thinking of a fraction of something that will eventually be shared. So the thing you can start with is half of a pizza, half of a yard of rope, half of a gallon of milk, things like that. But you're going to start with half of something, okay? And then as you write your story problem, you're going to say half of something that is, use a division word, shared equally, split, cut into 5 pieces, right? and you're going to say that you are cutting it, right? Describe how it's divided into those 5 equal parts. Then ask about the size of each part. So the reason that your answer is going to be a fraction is because you're talking about how big those pieces are. And we all know that when we divide something or we share it equally among people, the more people there are sharing, the smaller your slice is going to be, which is why your answer is going to be a fraction, because your piece is getting smaller, okay? So make sure that your question asks about the size of each thing, of each part, right? So good luck. Try writing those on your own. In the homework for this lesson, there's going to be some more practice. With word problems, they're going to ask you to possibly write one more. Here is the share and show, obviously, and the think on your own. And obviously there's another one where you get to write a story problem to represent it and then solve it. So make sure you do that. And look at here. And this time we have a whole number that's divided into fractional parts. So you're going to be asking how many parts did we make? How many people can we serve? How many servings are there, right? So that's what we're going to ask in that one. And then let's look at I would tell I would say you don't have to do this page necessarily. What's more important to me, if you would like to do this bottom one, there should be two correct answers. You should have 2 correct answers. All right? So when you come down here and it says mark all that apply, there are 2 correct answers. So if you find them, if you want to do that bottom one, that's fine too. And then, last but not least, this is the homework page. You are going to be reading them, write the equation first, and then solve it. So I should see the equation, and then I should see your answers too. And then down here, of course, more practice writing a problem. Same thing, one's going to start with a whole number that you're dividing into pieces. The other one's going to start with a fraction of something that people are going to be sharing, okay? And then there are 2 more problems at the bottom. If you have any other questions, please email me. I know that Ms. Swaminas has been doing morning meetings in the morning at about 11 o'clock. I know Ms. Martin missed the first one. I will be there tomorrow, so I can't wait to talk to you guys and chat with you tomorrow morning. Again, if you have any questions, please email me. Sorry that our videos are late. It's just that the internet in my house is not good for uploading videos. So I will see you soon, hopefully. Love you guys. Good luck. And try your hardest. Just because I'm not in front of you, I still expect you to do your best. All right?